on your side.
President Biden will focus on the economy today after spending his first full day in office tackling the coronavirus response. He issued 10 executive orders.
Requires immediate action, and we hope and expect members of both parties to work together to do that.
Right now, we bring in political insider Armstrong Williams to discuss, and we heard from Dr. Fauci yesterday on the coronavirus response. He says that herd immunity could be reached by this fall. Big if here, if 85% of the public gets vaccinated by August. But we know some people are hesitant to get the shot, and now we're hearing these vaccine supplies are running low in some areas. Can you talk about this huge job ahead for the Biden team tackling this pandemic that he is inheriting?
Well, I think something that the president said before being sworn in was, in order to bring about a reality for his 100 million vaccinations in 100 days, is that you've got to get more and more people involved in giving the vaccination in the food chain, from firefighters to emergency responders and to pharmacies. And also the issue that he discussed, which I think is important, oftentimes people who've been set to take the vaccine doesn't always show up. And therefore, the vaccine expired because of these crazy laws that they have in place, these guidelines, that you cannot give it to someone else. And so they're removing those barriers, because if you can't give it to some, give it to the next group that's in line to make sure that these vaccines don't go to waste. So I think the president has the right idea in terms of moving forward. And then you have Amazon, who's willing to help and participate in this process. It's not important to most Americans that the president is ambitious in what he's saying. Is the fact that he's very aggressive. He's trying to get something done. He's mobilizing all his strategic partners, and it gives people a lot of hope that we can, at somewhat, minimize the deaths, minimize the number of people that are contracting the virus, because I don't think any of us believe that we're going to ever control it, Melanie.
It's gonna be a while to get things back to normal, for sure. Well, the president, he made a call for unity in his inauguration speech, but uniting this fractured country is going to be a big challenge. What stood out to you about the president's speech, and was his unity message enough to speak to the Trump supporters?
In fact, I listened to, probably like you, Melanie, I listened to every word of President Biden's speech, and there was not, I can think of something, anything basically that I could disagree with. He talked about bringing this country together. He talked about unifying us. He talked about all of us have a role to play in this. He did not get caught up in anything about Trump in the past. He was moving forward. And I thought his message was very conciliatory and very sincere. And it also let us know that he was wise to understand where we are as a nation. But I think sometimes what we forget, Melanie, is because the president wants to unite, even in the executive orders that he put in place, where he extended the moratorium from the end of January to September on rent and on utilities, there are many business owners who are not getting any kind of relief from the banks, that even though someone's not paying their rent, what are they going to do for the next 6 or 7 months? And it just puts a more deeper burden on the business owners. And even in other things where he talks about other things that he wanted to do, while many people may agree with those policies, there will be some who find them to be just not agreeable. And so the issue is, will the president's policies embrace the 74 million people, or bring the 74 million people closer to his policy positions that he want to put in place? So the problem is that they just don't disagree with many of his values and his directive in terms of where he wants to take the American people, particularly on his policies that the executive order on transgenders, and no matter whether someone has a sex change or not, they can play in women's sports. There are a lot of athletic department, and a lot of people and families are going to have a problem with that. And so you can talk about unity all you want, but I think the dividing factor in this country is not everybody's going to agree on the issues. And so therefore, this country will continue to be divided. But I think it's important that you continue to have that message going forward.
And quickly, the impact of Kamala Harris shattering that 200-plus year glass ceiling, becoming the first Asian, the first female, the first black vice president. She is under, well, everybody's going to be watching her every move. Just talk about the pressure she's under.
I think, Melanie, many of us forget that America is still that shining city on the hill. There's no other place in the world that you can think of, in Europe, Asia, even in the where you're going to have the first president who happens to be black of the United States. the first woman who's a vice president, who happens to be Asian, who happens to be Indian, who happens to be black. That's the history and the legacy of America. And oftentimes we don't recognize that. There's no question Vice President Harris's background, her being a prosecutor, her being a United States senator, her experiences in California. I mean, obviously, she's very bright, she's very capable, and she's had a lot of experiences, especially working in that august body of the United States Senate. I don't think anybody can question her credentials, and I think she's going to be a great partner for President Biden. But there's so many issues
All right,
that
we'll
they
have
face
to leave
today.
it there. All right, Armstrong, sorry we're out of time, but you can
Oh, I
watch the
understand. I
Armstrong
understand.
Williams Show
Yeah.
every Saturday morning at 10:30 right here on WJLA 24/7 News. Thank you, Armstrong.